Oh, hey there. Mickey with CarryTrainer.com. Let's talk a little bit about how to properly grip the pistol to dominate recoil. Dominate recoil. A lot of videos on the internet about this. Hell, we've done one. It's done a pretty good here on the internet. It's called Recoil Control Like a Monster. Maybe I can teach you how to take apart a Glock, not like an ATF agent. I want to talk to you about this, not just so you can run the gun fast, but what happens when we have a less than desirable grip. So, round goes off, right? Bullet goes towards target, and in that, the slide does what it's supposed to do. It reciprocates, strips a new round off of the magazine, right? Boop. Shoves the gun back into battery and lets her rip for the next one. If the gun is allowed to flop about, what's the problem? Well, there's only so much energy left to allow that slide to reciprocate. If that energy is stripped into allowing the gun to be floppus, you end up with brass hitting you in the face. You end up with the gun getting short stroked, where the slide does not have enough energy to go all the way to the rear and come back. You end up with stoppages. The gun can't work as designed. A lot of really good dudes out there pick 1 or 2 points, and they hone in on those 1 or 2 points. Gripping a pistol, like a lot of things, like swinging a hammer, like tossing pizza dough, like shooting a basketball or swinging a bat, there are some principles that most anybody is going to instill, but the individual's got to own some of those things. I spent the bulk of my life doing manual labor, carpentry, bricklaying, digging ditches. One of my uncles would give me a shovel and say, dig a hole until you can't see out of it. And it wasn't for no reason. It'd be huge footings or huge piers. You'd be out in the forest with an axe or a hammer. Farmers, tradespeople, massage therapists that are working all day with their hands, people that have a pretty good, strong grip, are going to have an easier time because they've got strong forearms and strong hands than somebody that doesn't. So there's some caveats to this stuff. You've got guys that say all of the pressure comes from leveraging back. You've got guys that say all of the pressure comes from your support hand, or most of it. Well, let's comment on some of those things. What are some principles? Let's go back to the principles, not techniques. Principle, I want to be repeatable. Do you remember the 3 R's that we like to incorporate? This is a Mickeyism, the 3 R's. Reliable, repeatable, robust. Reliable, repeatable, robust. How I connect to the gun in my holster, i.e. my master grip in the holster, needs to be repeatable. If it's not, as I present that pistol in front of me, by the way, there's nobody on the range but me, as I present that pistol in front of me, there will be a different orientation. So where this gun decides to land in the web of my hand, we're going to call those touch points. I'm going to have a touch point with the middle finger of my dominant hand touching the trigger guard, and I'm going to have a touch point. You see the ripped off meat here? I've been training out here a bunch today, and from jamming my hand into the gun so fast and hard, I have ripped a little bit of meat loose there. I've got touch point and touch point. So in the holster, before I even draw, and this is part of our drawing video, before I even draw, I've got touch point here, right here, and touch point in the web of my hand. How do I know if it's the right spot? Well, my buddy DR Middlebrooks has a nice way of describing this. Bring your dominant arm till you've got a 90-degree bend in it. Humerus, the upper arm, parallel to the torso, and your forearm parallel to the ground, 90 degrees to the torso. Then I want you to point. I want you to point at something so that your forearm, hand, and finger are straight. Not straight, straight. Not straight, straight. And then I want you to put your pistol into the hand. What we're looking for is that the slide, I've got the slide off, not so much for safety, but I want you guys to see some things. Yes, it's safe, but that's not why I did it. I want you to be able to see some things here that the slide might block. I want to be able to have my forearm in fairly straight alignment and my finger in fairly straight alignment. So we're going to use a couple of terms. Over gripped, so now my finger is no longer in alignment with the slide. Under gripped, and I'm being very obtuse about it, making big movements. Now we can see that my finger is in line with the slide. What this is going to do is, one, it's about the most advantageous position. For most of us, it's going to be about the center of the web of the hand. I say about, hands are different, guns are different. Famous John Bianchi, who was behind what is now Safari Land, he had a saying. He said, one gun, one holster, all the time. Of course, John had other guns and holsters, but the thought was you were training where you could get that repeatability. So I want this natural point of aim so that as I connect to my gun and punch it out, the sights or dot appear where I'm looking. So check this out. This is my natural grip. If I move it this much, did that look like much to you? I'm going to show you a little closer. Did this look like much? I bet it doesn't. But if I move it like I just did and I push it out, the gun looks like canted like this to me. Again, I'm exaggerating, but my sights don't align. So what would I have to do? I'd have to cant or bend elbows and shoulders, which now I have re-gripped and changed my entire shooting platform because of this simple connection. Everything starts here with the master grip. And that happens in the holster or on the work table, but I want repeatability here. How do I know where it's supposed to be? Develop a good shooting stance, whatever your stance is. We could talk about isosceles, modified ISO. We could talk about all of them, the Chapman, the Weaver, etc. But whatever you're using, figure out where that is, compress the gun in, take your hand off, and you could even make some marks with a Sharpie. There's some guys doing this that they think they're the first ones to do it. Dudes were doing this 40, 50 years ago. Make some marks with a Sharpie where your finger's impacting, and this is why it's nice to do without the slide, because I can really analyze where my hand's contacting the gun. So master grip is where it all begins. Support hand. If you watched our recent draw stroke video, which I'll plug in the description of the video here, you'll see that there's a bunch of conversation about this touch point. This touch point with our support hand is just as important as this. Repeatability. Where is it supposed to go? Same thing. Develop your grip, compress the gun in, and look, this is the touch point I'm looking for. Where does my index finger of my support hand contact trigger guard? It's not just that though. So here's where we start to think about different instructors, different shooters. And I don't know everything, but I know some stuff. And here's what I'm going to lay on you. Guys will hear or they will understand, and these can be really excellent shooters. And I know some really excellent shooters that that are champions, but they're not the greatest instructors. And what it is there are some things that are innate to them that they don't realize you and I don't have as an innate ability with. This support hand, there's 100 guys that teach this 100 different ways. Cammed forward. Why are we camming it forward? Well, one of the reasons is it allows us more grip contact. So if I take my dominant hand, I get my thumb out of the way, I get my touch point, and I cam this hand forward so that forearm and thumb are more in alignment like so. It's going to allow me to place that hand onto the trigger, onto the grip, something like so. Does that make sense? Here's where the wheels fall off. A lot of guys say, okay, that's the good part. I can touch that. Who gives a crap? How does the gun recoil? Recoils here, right? So I've got a fulcrum point somewhere about here. Fulcrum, fulcrum, fulcrum. Where's my levers? Here's a little lever. Here's a lever. Here's a lever, right? Here's a lever. I need to control the levers. I can't grab the gun here, right? We say high and tight. Those are two words that come up all the time with shooting. Okay, so high and tight. I'm going to control this little beaver, right? I'm going to control that little beaver tail. But what about this monster one? What I need to do is, in order for this to not go up, this can't go forward. For this to go up, the grip must go forward. Do you see that? I can grip this gun as hard as Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Arnold in his prime could grip the shit out of this gun. But if my wrists move, the gun's flipping and dipping. If my elbows move, the gun's flipping and dipping. If all of it moves, the gun's flipping and a dipping. I need to be strong behind the gun. In our training, I'll say, get strong. It doesn't mean get strong. It means I need to control this little beast. Ideally, I wish for my grip in my head to be a vise of bone and muscle and sinew, right? I want my tendons in my muscle to just lock this little bitch out. Check out my grip. Watch this. Can you guys see the grip? Watch this. You see that? That's how hard I'm gripping the gun. Do you see it? It's not hold it like a bird, tight enough that it won't get away, but not too strong to kill it. That was an old saying. No, I'm gripping the snot out of this gun because I want repeatable, reliable, robust. So this contact point with this support hand, I get my repeatability, and when I drive this hand forward, when I cam it forward, this tendon, boys and girls, is locked out so that now this grip can't go forward. For this to not be able to go forward, the slide cannot elevate. So touch, roll, thumbs are doing nothing. So there's some really great shooters that use gas pedals. There's some really great shooters that push on the frame. Why don't I like that? If you're a right-hand shooter and you are pushing left or low and left, and you control that with the support hand, you can fix it really quick by really gripping good with your support hand if you're a righty, or if you're a lefty, you're going to use your right hand to grip really good, and you will help control that right push for a lefty. But what happens as soon as I take my support hand off the gun? Well, what happens is, this is even worse. The repair is not a long-lasting repair. The repair is more of a crutch. I don't want crutches because I want repeatable, reliable. I want this to work. I want it to work. So I need a good grip where I can actuate the trigger without grip pressure changing. Made up number. If I'm squeezing with 100 pounds of force and I'm squeezing with 100 pounds of force, when I actuate the trigger, it stays at 100 pounds. It doesn't become 110. Watch the end of the frame as I squeeze these fingers. All I'm going to do is just squeeze, not even hard. Watch the frame. See that? Watch for a lefty. Watch the frame. I'm not pushing it. All I'm doing is squeezing. I'm going to close my eyes. See that? Left or low left for a righty, right or low right for a lefty. We mitigate that by training consciously to press smoothly to the rear without increasing our grip strength. You instructors, if you've got students that are shooting left, low, right, depending on their dominant hand, don't watch the target, watch these muscles. If, as they're pressing the trigger, you see tension build in the grip muscles here, like this, that's a good indicator that they are tightening their grip as they're pressing the trigger. A little side note, I'm gonna grab a carbine. Little side note for y'all. If we pick our carbine up, if I pick my carbine up and I do the same thing, and there's nobody behind the cameras, guys, I'm alone in the woods here. Watch the muzzle. I'm just gonna squeeze. Watch the muzzle. I'm just relaxing here. See that? All I'm doing is this. Watch this. See that? Just squeezing and gripping is going to adjust the muzzle. That's not helping. Back to the grip. One of the most important things about a grip is consistently. Let's reassemble the old Glockage. Let's reassemble the Glock. Grab my eyes and ears here, and let's just demonstrate what we're talking about. So, proper loading. Lock the slide to the rear, cant the mag well inboard, retrieve a new mag, seat lock, tug, cycle, press check, tap into battery, verify the trigger guard's clear. Verbally and visually, trigger guard's clear. Verify the holster's clear. Holster's clear. Actually, let's go to the appendix and control ourselves into the holster. I'm gonna fetch one more mag, so I got that. Let's take a look. Now, one other thing I'd add about grip, it's a lifelong journey, guys. It's a lifelong journey. I forgot where I was. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. As that gun punches out, I am squeezing here. fulcrum here, but I am also squeezing here. There's a lemon in my hand, I'm gonna bust that lemon, but I'm ratcheting back. My elbows are not locked out because I'm gonna have a little more control, for me, slightly bent. I see enough people that locked out like so, does not usually give as good a result as this. Let's try to keep our head more up versus down. As our head comes down, if I said, hey, look at me, you wouldn't go like this. Now your eyeballs are rolled up in the eye socket, right? Nobody's behind the camera. If I just present that gun right in front of me, right in front of me. And here's how we can dry rep this, guys. So I'm gonna square up on a target, connect, I get my touch point, and I can even open the hand up a little bit so that I can practice this rollout. I can practice this rollout. There's different guys that are instructing now that have attached all kinds of cute names to this. Newsflash, since the 1970s, guys that were IPSC and then USPSA and IDPA shooters, guys like Robbie Latham, Brian Enos, and many, many others have figured this stuff out. There's not a lot of dudes out there, including myself, that have added much to this. Thing is, a lot of those guys are not out teaching. So if there's some guy that says he's figured it all out, he's full of horse shit. Anyway, here we go. And out. I'm looking for that hand to come forward, wrist to lock out, good circumferential pressure. And let's change the camera angle. I want you guys to watch what my hands are doing. And I'm gonna move the camera around a little bit. I want you to watch what they're doing and what they're not doing. Change the camera angle to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break, break. Making sense, kids? Support hand side. Support hand, cammed forward, good pressure. Can we control the gun here? So I tell a story. I've got a buddy. And if I showed you, if you came to class and I said, hey, we're gonna hold the gun like this, something like this, most of you'd say that I don't wanna do that. Principles over techniques. So I have a friend that holds the gun just like this. And that guy is a USPSA Grandmaster. That guy, his name's Eric Camps with a K, travels the world shooting IPSC matches. USPSA Grandmaster, look that up. This makes him a top 0.25% shooter on the planet. He learned to shoot on a 92, thus he was trying to get his hands away from the controls. The principle is that this grip is stopping the front of the lower grip from moving forward. He's gripping low, watch the gun. Would have been helpful if I loaded this thing. Watch the gun. A lot flippier for me because it's not my grip. Watch this, guys. Watch this. Still quite controllable. The principle is I am stopping the front of the grip from rising. I have circumferential pressure dominating the gun. Let's take another look at this from one more angle, my dudes. Well, that looks fairly nice. Right here, check it out. See my head posture? I'm not here, I'm here. My elbows aren't here, they're here. Good circumferential pressure. Leveraging back with my palms. Again, looks something like this. Knuckles over knuckles, not unstacked. Good pressure, watch the gun. Does it look pretty flat? Feels pretty flat. The grip is all about forming your hands into a shape with the gun you choose that you can repeat. Having good texturing. This is a Boresight Solutions Glock 19. Other than the grip, it's got an Apex trigger and a Mariglow sights on it and some slide work. But the internals of the gun are all basically stock. The Apex trigger is definitely an improvement from stock, but it doesn't help the guns control-wise. But Ben's grip texture here does allow my hand to grab on better. That's helpful. Regardless, if I had 80 grit sandpaper on here, if my wrists are moving, I can have my fists glued to the gun, but my wrists are moving. Understand? Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to grip the gun hard, but I'm going to loosen up my wrists. Look at that. Tight hands, loose wrists. It's hard for me to force myself to do that on a subconscious level. I'm trying to drive the gun back into the target. Takeaways. Develop consistency in how you interact with the pistol. Number one, develop a good, repeatable master grip with these touch points that we talked about. Whichever your support hand is, cam it forward and increase the tension and torque in these fingers and digits. Something I forgot to add earlier. Think of your pinkies. Pinky power. If we were going to have a tug of war and I gave you a big fat rope, about the most advantageous way for you to grab that rope, it'd be tight, 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 starting with your pinky. It would lock that grip down. So incorporate and make sure that you're using your pinkies and applying pressure through all the digits. Develop a repeatable presentation of the pistol, which will start with how you interact with those touch points. Take your time, don't get frustrated, put yourself on film like I'm doing here and you can watch what's happening. Try to stand up as much as possible. Do drive your weight forward. When I say up, not crouched down like this, right? So there's a difference in posture. I have good posture right now. I have bad posture now, right? I want to be able to put my eyes flat to the target if possible. Don't get frustrated. Take your time working on it. This stuff is a lifelong journey. Repeatable, reliable, robust. I'll put a couple links down in the description for a few other videos that might be of value to you. I enjoy the time we spend together. If you guys dig these videos, if you've got questions, you've got comments, you've got thoughts, you've got concerns, let me know in the comments. You can shoot us an email too to training@carrytrainer.com. We've got a bunch of class dates up all across the country, literally from coast to coast and all points in between. I'm at all those classes. We don't hire other people to come put my shirt on. It's us at the classes, and we're doing a great job of having a good time. Bald eagle right overhead, guys. Doesn't get any better than that. Doesn't get any better. Woo! Yeah, bald eagle just went right over. Happened right here on this range. Dang. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Oh, hey. Why? Mine likes to run dirty like your mother. Nope.